attending your first delinquent tax sale. Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved in tax lien certificates and tax deeds for over 30 years as an author, a publisher, and a guide. Now, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a real estate broker. So let's get started and learn about all the counties first of all, and then I'll kind of separate it into the different kinds of tax sales that take place. So it starts out with tax lien certificates. So I really want you to understand only half of the states sell tax lien certificates, but all of the states sell tax defaulted property. So think about all 3,000 counties can sell tax defaulted property. But then we have about half of the states and half of the counties that are very benevolent. They will sell a tax lien certificate, which simply means they don't throw the people out of the property. The people stay on the property. So in that situation, the people have not paid their taxes with a tax lien certificate, so the local government just sells that debt. All the county does is they sell the debt. They want to sell the taxes to anybody that will put up the money so that they have money to run the government. So that's what a tax lien certificate state does, or a tax certificate county does. All right, now give you a little background. This is all created by the state's legislature. So we have 50 states. All 50 states have a legislature, and they tell the county board of supervisors and county commissioners what to do. All right, so they tell them everybody's got to pay taxes. If they don't pay taxes, then the property can be confiscated and sold at auction. Now, who does all that? The treasurer does all that, but they get their instruction from the county supervisors and, of course, the legislature. All right, I'll be back with more details on that in just a minute. Okay, as I said, it's called a tax sale. So it could be called a tax sale. However, it's really an auction in the case of a tax lien certificate or a tax defaulted property. But they call it a tax sale, but it's really an auction. So keep that in your mind. Now, when the tax sale takes place, that auction, the county treasurer and the tax collector will wipe out the trust deed on the property and the mortgage. So that means you get those properties without a mortgage. That doesn't mean that there's no other federal lien on it or local other lien, but they're not going to have an encumbrance like a mortgage or a deed of trust. All right, so the consequence for any property owner that doesn't pay property tax is that either a tax lien certificate will be issued or the property will go directly to the auctions. So it's one or the other. So certain states that sell tax lien certificates, what they're doing is the person's in default, or the property's in default, they leave the property in default, they leave the property owner on the property, but they sell the debt. Anybody can buy that debt. Now, why would people buy the debt? Huge interest rate, outrageous interest rate paid on those certificates. 16, 18, 24, all the way up to 36% interest on a tax lien certificate. But the owner gets to stay on the property while all that's taking place. However, when the redemption period expires, the owner is going to lose the property. So with a tax lien certificate, you either get paid or you get the property. However, with a tax defaulted property, well, those properties, they're auctioned off and they're going to get a deed to the property immediately after the sale. Okay, the county doesn't want the property. In any case, the county doesn't want the property. So when they go to sell the property, they could give a 60%, 70, or 80% discount below the tax assessed value. So they could start an auction with a tax lien certificate or tax deed property, I should say. They could start that auction at 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. They can start it just at the basic back taxes if they want to. All right, so that might be 60 or 70 or 80% below the tax assessed value. So that's why people are attracted to the sale. They're looking at the margin. They want to buy at a low price and they want to be able to sell at a high price. All right, so the margin between those two numbers is what the people that are attending the auction are looking for. Now, what do they call these? They call them tax sales. They're really auctions. Now, it doesn't matter if you go to a tax lien certificate auction or whether you go to a tax deed auction. They're both auctions. However, they might be referred to as the sale. All right, where are these taking place? They're taking place online and offline. Sometimes the auction is on the courthouse steps. Sometimes it's on the county website. Sometimes they hire a professional company to do all that. All that needs research on your part. When you go to the auction, checking out the property is your challenge. All properties should be looked at before you even think about purchasing. Why? Because the condition is going to be your responsibility. So the county, when they issue the the quitclaim deed, when they issue the deed to that property, it's going to say specifically they're not responsible for the condition of the property, and they're not responsible for any defects in the deed. So that means research is required by the bidder. They understand what they're purchasing. So some of these properties are used and abused properties. Others are junk. You don't want to buy the junk. And then there's other properties that just need a little cleanup and touch up, and they're ready to go. Now, defects in the title are going to be your responsibility to fix those. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about attending the first delinquent tax sale. So if you're attending it, that could be a tax lien certificate auction, or it could be a tax deed auction. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. All right, now auction procedures are different in every single county. I can't tell you what the exact process is going to be, but I can tell you this, that in a tax defaulted situation, they're going to start with low bidding. Sometimes the auctioneer will start out with $100 because the county has authorized the starting bid to be $100. But that doesn't mean the property will sell for that, because the highest bidder, whoever bids highest, will get that property, okay? Now with tax lien certificates, even though it's your first one, you have to understand some tax lien certificates, there's a bid down process. So there's two different processes taking place. All right, now they're all government liens. All right, when the auction takes place, the deed of trust is going to be wiped off the property as well as the mortgage. That doesn't mean that local municipal liens won't be on the property and there won't be federal liens. You have to do your own research. Remember, the condition of the property is your responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. All right, now newcomers continuously ask me, are these going to be online or offline? They can be online auctions or they can be offline auctions. Now, some people only like to go to live auctions, which are at the county, more likely at the county courthouse. Okay, but online auctions can be done on the county website or can be done on professional auctioneer website. All right, so I'm pretty much covered it for you today. For those of you that are going to go to auctions, you need to check the condition of the property. That means you want to have boots on the ground. Why? Because when the auction takes place, when the gavel comes down, you're going to own the property if you're the highest bidder. So my suggestion is that you have boots on the ground, you go there and you check out that property. I don't know, and I don't think anybody else at the auction will know either. What if there was a hurricane? What if there was a flood? What if the building had a fire? What if it was next to a chicken farm or something like that? You'd want to know all those things because that's going to affect your selling of the property. Remember, once you buy it, you own it. They're not going to give you a refund. So I recommend a physical inspection of that property. Now, while you're there, at the same time, one of the big mistakes people make is they bid too high. Well, you won't bid too high if you go and check the property and then check comparables in the area so that you know what you're going to sell it for. My name is Ted Thomas. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.